Hello everyone, this is the Sports Spiral, and today I'm going to review Week 16 of college football. This was a great week with a lot of good conference championships games, and now we do know the bowl games and the CFP games, so I will tell you what I think of those at the end of this video. But let's get into the first game, which is on Friday, and Oregon was able to upset USC. Remember, Oregon, USC was supposed to play Washington, and instead, because of COVID, Oregon played Washington, and they took advantage of it, getting the win and sending USC their first loss. Shuck was pretty good for Oregon, but he only threw it 15 times, 2 touchdowns and an interception. But this Oregon defense really helped get the win. 2 touchdowns and 3 interceptions for USC quarterback Keaton Slovis. My takeaway from this is that the Pac-12 really just isn't good this year. There's not a team inside the top 15, and the schedule of 6 games really doesn't help. So, yeah, the Pac-12 is kind of a mess this year. So then we move to Saturday, where we had a lot of great conference championship games. Alabama wins a thriller against Florida, high scoring shootout like some people expected. Personally, I didn't expect it to be a shootout because I thought the Alabama defense would play better. Um, but a great game for Mac Jones, 5 touchdowns and an interception. Najee Harris also had a fantastic game. He rushed for 2 touchdowns and received a few more. And Devontae Smith had an excellent game as well, receiving 2 touchdowns and 184 yards. And the Florida side was able to put up a lot of points, 3 touchdowns and 408 yards from Kyle Trask, 153 yards and a touchdown from Kadarius Toney receiving, and Pitts had a great 9 to 12. So yeah, it does show that Florida had a really good offense, but their defense just couldn't make enough stops to win the game. Had a lot of trouble on third down, and yeah, it ultimately came down to a few of those third down stops. But Alabama wins a close one over Florida. Florida, they lost, but they don't move at 7th place right now. It just shows that the committee really likes them. So then we have Ohio State versus Northwestern, and Ohio State was able to pull away at the end of the game. It was not looking like they were going to win the game, or it was going to be a close one at some points, as Northwestern was playing decent on offense and great on defense. But Ohio State wins 22-10. They pick off Ramsey 2 times. Fields was not good at all. 12 of 27, 114 yards, 2 interceptions. And just from the look of that, I just don't think a team with a quarterback like that should get into the college football playoff. But I will talk more about that later. But Trey Sermon, the transfer from Oklahoma, that's why you might remember his name. He rushed for 331 yards and 2 touchdowns. An excellent day for him, and they would probably not win the game if they didn't have Trey Sermon. So a great performance by Trey Sermon gives uh, the Ohio State Buckeyes a 12-point victory. Okay, this next one is exactly the score I predicted. Texas A&M wins a big one over Tennessee, 34-13. They look like a playoff-worthy team. Mond did not look the greatest. A touchdown and an interception. He was accurate though. Spiller rushed for a touchdown, and for Tennessee, they experimented with a few different quarterbacks. Although I did not watch this game, but it seems like Harrison Bailey was injured for Tennessee, just looking at the stats, because he had 6 of 6 and threw for a touchdown. So yeah, must have been injured and not benched. So yeah, Strout threw for a touchdown and an interception for the Volunteers, their other quarterback. And yeah, they just weren't able to get much of anything going for the Volunteers, and Texas A&M comes up with a big win. Okay, Oklahoma won a close one over Iowa State. The Big 12 defenses were looking better on this one. Obviously, they haven't been too good in the past few years, but they look good here. A touchdown pass for Spencer Rattler, 97 yards for Ramondre Stevenson for the Sooners, and for Iowa State, Brock Purdy threw for 322 in the touchdown, but it's picked off 3 times by a great Oklahoma defense, and Hall rushed for 2 touchdowns. So Oklahoma not going to make the playoff this year. But if they played like they did late season and like this game, early in the season, they would definitely be able to get in. Oklahoma is looking quite good. The Big 12's not as good as it's been in years past, but it's still pretty good this year. And let's move on to the next one, which is Utah versus Washington State. And Utah was able to come up with a pretty big one, as I expected, 45-28. And they had to rally to beat them big, though. So, yeah, that's kind of funny. Kind of what they did versus Colorado. They were down 11 and won by 17. Similar right here. De Laura, a touchdown and an interception for Washington State. Borghi rushed for 95 yards and a touchdown. And for Utah, Bentley threw a touchdown and an interception. But Ty Jordan had a great game again, rushing for 154 and 3 touchdowns. So then we have a great SEC game, and that is LSU versus Ole Miss, a high-scoring game that LSU wins 53-48. LSU is looking like they're on the right track. The season has ended though, for them, and they are 5-5. They get it to 500 despite struggling at parts of the season. But perhaps a better year for LSU next year. For Ole Miss, Corral threw for 3 touchdowns, but 5 interceptions. How do you put up 48 points when your quarterback throws for 5 interceptions? Well, first of all, your quarterback rushes for 158 yards and a touchdown, and as I previously mentioned, he did throw for 3 touchdowns. And on the LSU side, a lot of points were scored as well. Not good defenses in this one at all. Although there were 6 interceptions, but the defenses were not good. Funny game here. Johnson threw for 435, 3 touchdowns and an interception for LSU. He was looking good. But Butte had a great game for LSU. 308 yards and 3 touchdowns receiving for him. And LSU gets the win there, a high-scoring win. Then we have another high-scoring SEC game in an upset. Mississippi State 51-32 over Missouri. Missouri has looked great at some points in this season, but yeah, they've really struggled at points. Last week they lost a big one to Georgia, and they lose another big one this time to Mississippi State, and the air raid worked for Mississippi State. Rogers threw for 3 touchdowns and an interception, and for Missouri, Bazelak threw for 2 touchdowns, but picked off 3 times. Roundtree did throw for 121 yards, did run for 121 yards and 2 touchdowns. But the main thing here is that Missouri does not have a good defense, and that's the main weak point of the team right there. And then we have the ACC Championship, where Clemson won 34-10 over Notre Dame, and Lawrence back after not being able to play this game in the regular season. He was pretty good, throwing for 2 touchdowns and an interception. Travis Etienne was great, 124 yards and a touchdown for him. But the main thing in this game is great Clemson defense, forcing the Notre Dame offense to just 10 points. Buck threw for 219. Williams only rushed for 50. So great defense from Clemson gives them the win. And I will talk more. This is obviously a game that has major stakes for the playoff. I will talk more about it at the end of the video. So then we have Stanford versus UCLA, and Stanford wins a good one, a close one in 2 overtime to move to 4-2. I thought UCLA was going to be able to win this one after giving USC a fight, but they don't. Mills 3 touchdowns, 3 interceptions for Stanford. And UCLA lost, even though Griffin was straight throwing for 4 touchdowns. Brown had a good game for UCLA, 219 yards. And going back to Stanford, Jones rushed for 2 touchdowns to help them get to their victory. So, yeah, the Pac-12, it's like nobody is really that good in the Pac-12. And the short schedule definitely doesn't help. So, yeah, definitely not the year for the Pac-12. And then we have Cincinnati versus Tulsa. And Cincinnati wins a close one over Tulsa, 27-24. And Cincinnati still undefeated, but doesn't seem like the committee likes them very much. To me, for Cincinnati to get in the playoff, they had to blow out Tulsa, and they did not. They won a close one, and here are the stats. Smith for Tulsa, a touchdown, 2 interceptions. Taylor, 102 yards and a touchdown on the ground for Tulsa. Going to Cincinnati, Ritter threw for 269 and a touchdown. He also rushed for 83 and a touchdown. But yeah, here are the college football playoff final rankings, because that's the last game I picked. And Clemson moves up to the 2nd spot. Ohio State moves up a spot, and Notre Dame falls to 4, which I think makes sense. Though their one loss was a blowout, they only have one loss. And so yeah, Texas A&M and Ohio State, though, that is debatable, because Ohio State has only played 6 games. But I'm gonna be okay with the committee's choice here, because Ohio State, they do have 2 quality wins over Indiana and Northwestern. So yeah, then we have Oklahoma at 6. We had Texas A&M at 5, moving up big. Florida State at 7, as I previously mentioned, and then it's clear that since the committee does not like Power 5 teams, because Cincinnati at 8 after the win over Tulsa. So yeah, it is kind of a boring. Obviously, these are all the best teams, the top 4, and I agree with their choice. But it is kind of a boring, same old, for top 4 teams. And it's probably going to be Alabama versus Clemson in the championship. So yeah, please make sure to subscribe, like, and check out my other videos. I will soon have a predictions video for some of the first bowl games for college football, so stay tuned for that. It should be uploaded Thursday or sometime around